This Monday with the Rob Ellis Show, actually our 12th episode of the Rob Ellis Show here on A2D Radio. Love the folks at A2D Radio. Great response from everybody regarding the show. Just a quick intro of what we're all about. We'd like to bring people on and walk through their journey, you know, everything they've been through to get to the point where they are right now, because a lot of times you see the finished product. You don't see what went into getting there and the journey and all the ups and downs and the forks in the road and all that good stuff that tend to happen from time to time. Very few people just jump in and all of a sudden they skyrocket to fame. That's for sure. But excited to have our guest on today, because it's, for my money, pound for pound, he is the best in two categories. He is the best in-arena announcer, bar none, in the NBA. Let me make that three things. Best in-arena announcer with the Philadelphia 76ers. Also the best DJ personality in the Philadelphia area, and lends his voice to 2K as well. That is the trifecta right there. The one and only Matthew Frederick Cord. What's up, Matt?
Heck of an intro there, Rob. Thank
Just
you.
like you wrote it, my friend. Thank you.
A triple threat. That seems like a radio topic.
That sounds like something you could use as leverage for your next negotiation. I'm just saying, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I love the shirt. First of all, that's one of the all timers right there. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you very rarely saw AA without, the cornrows.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's weird, man. When you look at the early days of him, when I think he just has the one tattoo, he's got the short hair. When he first broke into the league, you're like, man, how that transformed over about a 5-year period to what the blank slate looked like early.
Every season he'd come back, in the offseason, he'd have like a couple more tattoos. And
yeah.
Remember Harvey Pollack, Harvey's grandson, Brian, one of his jobs was to keep a record of every NBA player and how many tattoos they had.
Is that right? That is Harvey Pollack to a T right there. That is next level statistics.
And Brian used to sit next to me, and we'd be talking. He's like, "Do you see another tattoo on him?" I'm like, "Oh yeah."
He's got crew thick on his neck. Get that down real quick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So let's start there, Matt. Was AI? Yeah, I know you're not a guy who plays favorites, but was he kind of the most fun as a guy since you've been doing it in your time as the in-arena host? Was he the guy who kind of lent the most to the atmosphere with the whole cupping of the ear and comes back and he kisses the cord, of course, when you would intro him last? Like, was he that guy for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, he, like you said, he got Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Even though he wasn't like the best guy in the gym or at practice but this town understood him and he understood the town, the whole cupping of the ear, he could come to tears at any moment talking about the city of Philadelphia. And that team, that wasn't really that good of a team.
Right.
That whole 2001 season, as you know, it was just magical. I mean, 2 Game 7s that we could have lost, and then going into LA with him, just winning Game 1 by himself, I don't think LA had lost in the playoffs yet.
Right. And
we're up 1-0 over the David versus Goliath.
Oh.
Should
have won Game 2. Should have been up 2-0 coming back to Philly.
I know.
Raja Bell hits that crazy finger roll, and there was a lot going on, man.
Yeah, and we were pretty hurt. I who was center at that time? Was it Mutombo or Geiger?
It was Mutombo. Yeah, okay. Mutombo. Yeah.
We had Geiger and we had Todd McCulloch. We had a pretty good triple, for centers.
That was one of your better. I just thought that Raja Bell was one of your better names.
Raja Bell.
Love it.
And he was a nobody. Nobody knew who when he came into those final games, people were like, "Who's this guy?"
I know. It was unbelievable. Well, it's crazy. Like, timing in life is everything, right? That correct me if I'm wrong, but that's right around the AI era, and that 01 team is right around when you took over as the in-arena host, correct?
I took over 97, 98.
Yeah, right. Yeah. AI comes in 96, 97.
Yeah. So his second year, and then every year there was playoffs. I mean, we didn't go all the way to the finals until the 3rd or 4th year, but Allen's 5th year.
Yeah.
Well, but it was fun,
Walk me back to the process, because I know you were doing wing games, okay? Wings games. And Pat Croce hears you there and loves your style. Is that how this came about? And then you got a tryout?
Yeah, I knew Pat. So Pat used to do the fitness tip on MMR at 11 o'clock before he was still a trainer. He'd come on at 11. I'd fill in for Pierre sometimes, and he'd be like, "This is Pat Croce, and your tip of the day is, when you eat pizza, put a napkin on it first and get all that grease away. That's your tip of the day." It would run every day at 11 o'clock, a tip of the day, and they're all pretty good. Mm-hmm. And then one day he came in, he's like, "Man, I'm buying the Sixers. And I love the way you do the Wings game, so I'm going to make you the announcer. I love how you yell at the other team." And so they had this massive audition for, to be the new PA of the Sixers. I think it was like close to 200-300 people at the Spectrum. And, everybody auditioned. Like Arson Arnie, remember that name?
Arson Arnie? He applied?
Yes. I remember.
WIP morning show caller? Wow.
Yes. We were all sitting there, you took your turn. I remember he was on the table and the mic, and he started like banging on the table and like throwing the mic, like, this is how I'm going to do it. And anyway, it got down to like, a call back and another call. I got down to like the final three, and I didn't get it. They actually gave it to a guy by the name of Gary Young, who did it for a year. Gary was the program director in Afternoon Drive at Power 99.
Right.
But he lost his job in radio.
Right.
So, as well as I do, you got to get another job. So he got a job like in Chicago, so he had to leave the Sixers. And since I came in second, they bumped me right up.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, what did you do anything? Like, obviously, it's like a cattle call, but what did you do? And you are a well-known personality, don't get me wrong, but did you do anything to try to distinguish yourself when you were, whatever the script they put in front of you, as opposed to the other folks? Did you hear a lot of people first and decide, all right, I'm going to take it a different direction, or were you just yourself?
I got tapes of what did I get? I got tapes of Ray Clay, the Chicago Bulls guy.
Yeah, he's good. He's really entertaining, that guy.
Yeah, and I remember like listening, on VHS tapes, trying to hear his calls over. It wasn't straight audio from him. It was like the game on CBS or whoever was carrying the games at the time. Mm-hmm. So I tried to get a little bit of him, but I used the stuff that I did with the Wings too. Because I've been doing the Wings since '93. Okay. And the Wings were good back then. We were selling out the Spectrum. We won like 3 championships.
That was the Jake Berge days, right?
It was even before Jake. It was the Gate brothers. Tommy Marichek, Dallas Elliott, Gabby Rowe, Kevin Finneran. Yeah. They were a lot of Canadians. And the Canadians were better at box lacrosse because they played it. The Americans were field guys. So.
Yeah, and we've come a long way as a country in lacrosse, that's for sure. All right, back to the Sixers. In a second, but I want to go back to the radio career. And of course, Matt, midday host at 102.9 WMGK from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. You can hear Matt. But you've been in this market for 30 years, which in and of itself is a hell of an accomplishment when you consider how many people come and go. Let's be honest. And I know you started your first gig was Long Island at BLI. Was that the first gig out of college?
Patchogue. Not out of college, but after college. I went to New York and tried to be an actor. And then I started doing voice work. And
we got to get into that too. I didn't know this part.
No. And then one of my voice guys was like, "Hey, there's a weekend shift opening up at WBI out there in Patchogue, Long Island, if you want to make a tape." And I did. And I got, I was doing the 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Saturday shift. Oof. Saturday into Sunday.
Yeah.
And the last 2 hours was the God Squad, where you hit a tape and it was all like religious programming.
Right. Yeah. Which is required in some. Yeah.
So from there, I got good. And then I said, okay, let's try to get to Philadelphia, where I grew up. And I sent tapes to Joe Bonadonna, was the PD at MMR at that time. And I basically hounded the guy. I'd come down, I'd send the tape, I get nothing back. I knew I'd hear him like, oh, he's going to be hosting the Hooters at the Chestnut Cabaret. I'd go there. I'd like walk up to him. Hey, I said, yeah, whatever. And finally he just like come in for an interview, and it was the perseverance that got me the part-time gig at MMR.
That's the lesson though. I mean, look, there is a fine line between being pushy and being, and perseverance, but you want it bad enough. You show that person that you want it bad enough, as opposed to just, oh, well, I didn't hear back. And you just kind of give up on it. I think that says a lot. Now, did you, before the guy said to you, hey, you got a pretty good voice, was the DJ thing ever in your mind?
Yeah,
at all?
I did it in college at Plattsburgh State. I was a DJ in college. My name was Matt Helm, Helm. And yeah, that was a blast. But, it's college radio, go in and play like 4 hours of Lou Reed and the Ramones back to back, stuff like that. So I had always wanted, I had the DJ, the bug absolutely. So that was just something I think, I should try this. I did it in college and I liked it.
So you make the move from LBI and you get to the Philly market. Now, where is the first stop and what's the shift?
Actually, I went to WSTW in Wilmington.
Yeah.
And I got
93.7. Yeah.
Yeah. I was Matt Clark after dark.
Why are we never Cord? Why are we Helm Clark? I like that though. Matt Clark after dark's got something.
Well, you'll appreciate this, Rob. I spelled Clark with an E on the end.
Ah, like Bobby Clark.
So I'd get like a gig at the grand opening of a Taco Bell, and they put my name on the marquee, and I'd walk in like, "There's an E on Clark," not just. I'd get mad. I'm like Bobby Clark.
That's pretty good, man. Yeah.
So I went to SCW, then I got a job back on Long Island at DRE, which is a legendary station.
That's a big station. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when I went to Matt Cord, and then DRE. I started working part time at MMR because Bonadonna came from DRE. DeBella came from DRE.
Yeah.
Earl Bailey came from DRE. Mark the Shark came from DRE. So that also helped me get into MMR with Joe Bonadonna. So
I love, speaking of Earl Bailey, so I'll still hear him every once in a while on Sirius XM.
Yeah.
Those guys, it is like, I don't know how they do it. Like I don't mean to mock this when I say shtick, but they have that whole smooth delivery thing where it's like, and you could work it into like a Crosby, Stills and Nash song. I'm like, how the hell did you just do that? Like, were you ever that guy, like doing all that intro thing?
I used to rip off Earl all the time. Earl always ends the show, "Take it easy, but take it."
Yeah.
When I was at DRE, I used to end my show like that. And then this DJ up there, and he's on satellite now, Larry the Duck, one day said, "Hey, you say take it easy, but take it." Yeah. Earl Bailey says that. And I'm like, who's that? Like just totally selling him out.
Yeah.
I remember telling Earl that years later. He's like, "Well, flattery is the highest form. Imitation is the highest form of flattery." He was.
Oh,
but Earl's clever. He'll be like, how many times can you introduce Stairway to Heaven? He's like, instead of taking the elevator or the escalator, let's take the stairs.
Exactly. I love that old school radio.
And his voice, he's got that voice, and it's just that has never changed.
It's calming like perfection. He's never too excitable. He's one of the this. One of the toughest things I think for people starting out radio, TV, whatever, and digital now is they go way too fast. They're flying.
Yeah.
You know how it is. I mean, you have a million things prepared. You feel like you have to get to everything and you're going 90 miles an hour. And the hardest thing for people to do is slow down.
Yeah. Yeah. Too many elements in a break.
Yes. Yeah. So let me ask you you're what we're talking, like late 80s, early 90s, right? Somewhere around there that you could get in Philadelphia. What's the whole scene like then? I mean, how different was it from today? How much have things changed, business wise from what you did then to what you do now?
When I came to MMR, so it was 90. I mean, grunge was just breaking. No one had heard of Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. So that was really neat, being able to play those records when they were, brand new.
Yeah.
And everything was still on a CD. There was, they had just gotten away from playing albums. Once, carts too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there were once in a while you'd have an album here or there that wasn't, available on a CD. But and just the concert scene was, just every night there was a show at the Trocadero or like the cabarets or, Delaware Avenue had all these different
DLA.
Yeah. It was a really good time to be in that format. And there were lots of jobs in radio back then too.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's one of the things, and certainly, thankfully, not at your station, but there are some stations that either have no voices, no DJ voices, or one maybe in its entirety. It's crazy what's happening now.
I say it's a melting ice cube.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that is very true.
The morning shows are going to be the last shift left.
It could be. Biggest challenge. What's the thing that is the most difficult about your job, would you say?
In radio, right?
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to in arena host in a sec.
Boy, that's I mean, there's a lot of things. Just being prepared, I think,
Yeah.
is the biggest challenge. You have to know what you're talking about. Like today on the air, as I'm ready to sign off at 10 of 2, and at quarter of 2, Pee Wee Herman dies. It's
Right.
like, oh my God. Like I know about Pee Wee Herman, but you got to like get more than you.
Yeah.
You got to like, okay, I remember him in the movie Blow, and he had this great character, and of course all the Pee Wee's Playhouse stuff, and his real name, and he was 7. So you got to get that all together and sound intelligent when you talk about it 5 minutes later.
How much do you incorporate? I mean, obviously, there's getting to the music and classic rock and that kind of stuff. How much do you incorporate your life, present day, sports, if you will, Pee Wee Herman, that kind of thing? How much do you incorporate in the course of your 5-hour show?
Oh, all the time. Yeah. All the time. I'm talking about, things that we do. My girlfriend, who like things that, like, we went and saw Barbie.
Yes. And you wore all pink. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yes. Talk about that a little bit, because they played a Matchbox 20 song over and over in Barbie, and they played the Indigo Girls. Like some of these songs, I'm like, I remember that song. That song.
Yep.
And then obviously sports stuff. I mean, today the big topic on the show was the Kelly Green stuff that went on sale, and I posted a picture on the internet of my Kelly Green Vince Papale jersey.
Yep.
Yeah, I try to incorporate everything. I end my show every day with my dad, who passed away 11 years ago. One of his voicemails that he left me so many voicemails, and we always end the show with a jack chord, and they're usually, Rob, like, oh, that David Akers, I can't believe he missed that kick. All he has to do is wet his finger and hold it up and figure out which way the air is, like,
that's awesome.
He would leave me sports stuff all the time, and I wouldn't even pick up the phone because I knew I was going to get a good voice.
Yeah, good material. He was content. Yeah.
He was totally content.
That's awesome. Now I know you've done every shift known to man. How do you approach it? An overnight versus a morning drive versus an afternoon versus a midday or whatever. Do you approach things differently, or do you prep the same way?
Yeah.
Knowing it could be a different audience.
Yeah. Well, usually when you're doing morning drive, you know this, you have someone else with you.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to do a show and talk about topics when you can bounce it off somebody. It's just kind of hard to talk about things when you're by yourself.
Yep.
So the midday show is way different than I would do a morning show. And then overnights is, I mean, no one listens. I mean, those are fun shows. I would like, I'd love to do an overnight show just for the heck of it,
Yeah. Yeah. That's where you can really get loose. Yeah.
Yeah. No one cares.
Yeah.
Like I remember when we first started doing mornings at MMR, it was like, all right, we're done. Let's go downstairs and see how we did. Because everyone on their way into work listens to you, and all your bosses have an opinion of the content you had on that show.
Right.
Where overnights, like, hey, did you hear? No, we don't listen. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've tended in my radio life, if you're on anywhere from 6P to 6A, odds are they're not as locked in as they would have been 6A to 6P.
Yeah, and in rock radio, you can play songs that you're not allowed to at those.
Good point.
Yeah. I'll do this 9-minute Tool song. No one's gonna care.
Yeah. Also, give me a chance to go to the bathroom and get the smoke and do whatever I got to do.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So obviously the radio career, you've been able to stay in the game for a very, very long time, which is not easy. Favorite band all time?
I mean, I've seen them the most. Pearl Jam. I've seen them like almost close in on 70 times. But I got friends with the guys in the band because they're big basketball fans, and
they love the Sonics. Yeah,
the Sonics,
the old Sonics.
Yeah. But they're like Jeff, the bass player. He's in a men's league in Seattle, and he comes to games and stuff. So I got friends with them, and then when they go on tour, and it doesn't happen all the time, but they'll give me a laminate, and I look at it, I'm like, oh, this is for every show. Like, yeah,
that's awesome. So you can go whenever you want in the country.
So yeah, I've seen them in Italy. I've seen them, out in the West Coast, Chicago, all over the States. And the thing with that band too, they do a different set list every night.
Yeah.
So it's worth seeing them on multiple shows. They're like the Dead. They're like Fish.
Yep.
It's a completely different.
And they love covers too. They do killer covers.
They do lots of covers. Yeah. Think about it. They closed the Spectrum. They did 4 nights at the Spectrum. and it was I think it was 176 different songs.
Oh my God! In 4 nights?
Yeah. I might be high on that. It might be like 140. But
how the heck do you remember all those lyrics? How do you remember all that?
Well, they were in, like, usually I get to see him and we go to dinner or something. He's like, dude, I can't see. We're in rehearsal every night because Ed doesn't want to repeat a song. And they're the last band ever to play Chicago Stadium where Jordan played.
Yeah.
And they're the last band ever to play the original Boston Garden. So they did, think about those 3 arenas. That's the last band.
That is nuts. That is nuts. All right, Matt, hang 1 second. We're going to get a quick timeout.
Yeah.
I want to dip back into the in-arena host. I need the process, man. And I don't mean that the way you think I mean. I need
the process.
Yes, I am going to get that off you, but I need to know what you do, your prep, how it in-game, how the whole, the mechanics of all of it. I can't wait to hear all of this. Matt Cord, our guest here on the Rob Ellis Show. Let's get a quick timeout on A2D Radio. We'll be right back.
Hey, Birds fans, the NFL schedule has arrived and Philly Sports Trips has all the details now. Visit the site phillysportstrips.com. This is sure to be an epic season. Be sure to go there now to make sure that you don't get shut out. Join us in Tampa, LA, Seattle, or when we get revenge in Kansas City. Don't want to fly? No problem. Gather up your crew and hop aboard one of our signature boisterous bus trips to DC or New York. Sign up now and make sure to mention A2D. Don't miss out on the best Philly fan experience anywhere. Philly Sports Trip customers always stay at the best hotels and meet NFL legends. Book today.
All right, we are back. Rob Ellis Show, A2D Radio, and we're hanging out with Matt Cord. Matt had to hop off for 1 second, but I'm right back. There he is. There's Matt Cord. Matt, speaking of the fandom of Philadelphia, I don't know if you saw this, but they were camped out at 3 a.m. Monday morning to get the Kelly Green gear of the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, we are a different, beautiful breed, aren't we, in this city?
Crazy just for a color of a jersey. And that's I don't know, it's probably your favorite color too, because we kind of have the same wheelhouse with that era of Eagles, but yeah, I mean, the Eagles that just shows you how huge this team is. That people and the line, I saw the line today.
It looked like they were like, it used to be what you see at concerts right back in the day, and people camping out to get tickets. It had that sort of tense, like, lounge chairs, tailgating. It was unbelievable, man.
And the season, first game's over a month away. It's crazy.
It is wild. So I bring that up for a reason, because you do have Eagles ties too, in addition to your Sixers work. You were an Eagles ball boy from 75 through 78, if I'm not mistaken here. And that was 76, 77, 78 are the first 3 years of Vermeil. So was this Widener, Matt, where you were the ball boy?
Widener University, Hannah Hall. Yeah, every summer. And it's funny because I started with McCormick my first year.
Right.
And, his camps were, I mean, all training camps back then were 2-a-days and stuff. But Vermeil's first year, he brought, and this was before any kind of like player, union.
Yeah, there was no rules. You did whatever you wanted. Yeah.
We were in camp, I think the end of June, because there's that famous story. It was the bicentennial, and Vermeil's like, "What's up with those fireworks, Coach? It's the 200th anniversary of." Oh, well, tell them to shut it up. You're like, yeah, we were in camp in June,
right?
And it went to the end of August. I mean. And there were 2-a-days, and sometimes there was 3-a-days. He would do a night. He'd do a night session, and all we were doing was, because we did all the laundry, like we were doing laundry all the time. Because
you must have been beat, man, as a kid.
Yeah. But we got to travel, and then my last year I became the assistant equipment manager, so I got to be for home every home game.
That's cool.
And actually I had some say in some of the matters and stuff. So.
Nice. That is awesome.
I got in the 77 team photo because of Vermeil. Like I was the assist. I was like the third assistant. Like I was the guy who guarded the locker room.
Yeah.
Like you stay here. We're going out to get the team picture. And he was always the last guy out of the locker room for stuff like that. And he saw me. He's like, "Matt, what are you doing here?" I said, Rusty said to watch the locker room. Son, you're part of this team as anyone else. Get in this photo.
Whoa. That had to be just mind-blowing, right? Are you the most popular kid in school that day? You had to have been with that.
Well, you know what else? it came out in the Sunday Bulletin like a month later. Like every bulletin had a copy of that photo from the vet.
Wow.
So, but every time I see Vermeil, I bring up that story, and he laughs. I'm like, "You got me in the photo. I wouldn't have been in that photo."
That's cool, man. Because you were on the cusp of when it, I mean, from just a horrible team to some really fun years, man, with Vermeil and Jaworski and Montgomery and Carmichael and Jimmy
and
Murray.
He was the first guy to bring in we have a tight end coach, we have a center coach, we have this. You probably remember the guy Bow Wow, this one character. He brought him in.
Yes.
He brought in Chuck Bednarik just to be inspiration. Like Chuck just stood there.
Just show the finger. That's all you needed to do. Yeah.
Well, the best story was after every game, you have to go in the locker room and you take a knee and you say a prayer. And like by the third or fourth game, I'm looking at Bednarik and he's not kneeling. And I go to the longtime trainer, Otho Davis. I'm like, "Hey, Otho, why doesn't he kneel?" He's like, "He can't."
Ooh, okay. I thought the answer was gonna be he's Chuck Bednarik. He'll do whatever he wants.
He can't kneel anymore. His knees are so shot.
Wow, man.
Vermeil had everybody on that, crazy. And he brought in way more players than ever. And
Vince Papale. You were there for Vince Papale.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That is unbelievable. So you grow up in Delaware County, Glen Mills guy. Were you always a huge sports fan?
Yeah, I was Flyers, Sixers, Eagles, Phillies. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Who am I missing?
Phillies, Sixers, Eagles, Flyers.
Yeah, I got the four. Yeah.
Yeah, you got them all. So were the Sixers the biggest passion for you, or did the Sixers thing just kind of fall into place later?
I was more hockey and football.
Okay.
Yeah. I love the Flyers. I was like Bobby Clark and,
Well, those days, I mean, the days where the ball boy for the Eagles were 74, 75. I mean, they were great every year.
Yeah. Yeah. That was, and they were new, that was the new thing in Philadelphia, like hockey and the Spectrum and Kate Smith and all that
fighting
stuff.
And all this. How physical it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's unbelievable.
But I was a huge I love Dr. J too. So that was a cool thing to, know that he was in that area at the same time.
So back to the in arena host thing. And you've been will this be your 24th this upcoming year?
26th.
All right, impressive. 26th year. So you tell Croce hears you, he likes you. You don't get it the first year. Was it something you kind of wrote off, or you thought, this could happen? I got this close. I'm not giving up on this.
I didn't get it, but the Sixers let me do this show, and I forget the name of it, but I did it with Al Meltzer.
The Big Al.
And we did it on the concourse. It was like Sixers something or other, and I would do like a fluff report, do halftime of the game, and tonight's halftime act was, this marching band, and I'm at court. Back to you, Big Al. Like, so I had my foot in the door. Like I was working for the team in some capacity.
Okay. Now, how big a challenge was scheduling that around the radio? Did you ever have any kind of conflicts or issues, or were they always pretty good with it?
When I was at Y100, so when I was PA and I was at Y100, I was doing afternoon drive. Yeah. So I was on the air at Y till 7:00, and games started at 7. Back then they started at 7:30. So, but I had to leave media to get there on time. So I would record like from 4:00 to 7.
Okay.
And there was, my boss was like,
if something goes wrong, what are we going to do? Yeah.
That's 3 hours of recording with a board op. We didn't have the systems they have now where you can just load it in and let it fly. So that happened for about 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad they let you do that, because there are a lot of bosses, guys I've had over the years, who probably wouldn't have allowed it or busted balls, quite frankly.
And this was 2001, so that it kind of helped.
Good point.
And then next year, 2002, we had the All-Star game. So
it was great. Yeah, it was great cross promotion. Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah. Have you ever had, like, we've all seen, Howard Stern's movie, and Pig Vomit was the crazy, program director. Have you ever? I have had a couple of those guys, frankly. Have you ever had the crazy PD, or you had pretty normal guys for the most part?
Yeah, I've had pretty normal guys. Yeah,
you're lucky. I have had several whack jobs, but you're lucky.
Yeah. I had one guy. One of my first guys was just I couldn't say the word W, and he'd bring me in his office because I'd be W. He's like, it's
Philly accent.
You. Yeah. Let's do it again. And I got it. But there was one point he had this great line. He goes, "You can't say it. You're going to have to work west of the Mississippi."
Really?
Those are all stations that start with K.
K. That's right. Yeah. Other than KYW in our town.
Yeah. So I've run into his name is Bill Terry, and he's still around. I've run into him before. I'm like, thank you so much for teaching me how to say W.
Was there ever when you were in other markets, hey, you got to get rid of that Philly accent? Did you ever get that from other than the W pronunciation?
No, not really. Not really. Yeah. I don't think
you don't really have a thick Philadelphia accent, actually. I don't think.
I do have a little one, but you get it more when you hang out with your friends from Philly.
That's that you are correct. All right. Yeah. So walk me through, because you are spot on, man. Not only do you do a great job with the names and the information, but you bring juice, whether it's your intros. I love the fact that if a Sixers player scores, there's the excitement. If it's somebody else, it's, that's, how did you develop that signature? Like, was it just, hey, I'm going to wing it and be myself, or, there's certain guys I'm going to style myself after. How did you come about that?
It grew. It definitely, it evolved, because I listened to recordings of myself doing Iverson, like in 2000, and it's much shorter. It's like Allen Iverson, and I got more of a voice, I think. I took vocal exercises. I do them before every game. I went to a singing coach.
Wow.
Stuff like that helped me evolve over the years. Yeah.
Did the players dig it? Was Allen like, dude, I love what you're doing? Did you ever get that kind of interaction from the players?
Yeah. Once I kind of stay in my own lane. I don't like talk to them that much. I remember once talking to him, we were doing a rehearsal for a playoff game, and he was there, like, just watching.
Yeah.
Like, he came out to watch the, because we had a whole new intro.
Yeah.
We had remember the drummers we used to have on the
court? Oh God, they were, yeah.
So he was there watching that once, and he was sitting next to me, and I just said, hey, do you like how I say your name? He's like, do I like? He's like, some days I don't even feel like coming to work, but I know you're going to say my name, so that makes me want to come in.
Whoa.
I'm like, can I get that on tape?
Yeah, that's like a game changer, man. If you know he likes it. That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever have a guy who was like, hey, man, kind of do this or emphasize this, or maybe not there? Have you ever had that?
I usually go up to new guys and ask them how they want it.
Okay.
I went with the day we got Harden. I'm like, how would you like? He's like, want me to say the beard, James Harden? He's like, and he asked me, he was like, let's try it this way. The beard, James Harden. I'm like, okay. So.
And he liked it. How about with Embiid with the process? I know that was a little weird for a minute, wasn't it? There was somebody.
He didn't play. Obviously, he didn't play his first 2 years.
Yeah.
So I would see him a lot, and I'm like, hey, and then towards the when he was ready to play, I saw him that summer at Made in America. He was at the concert on the Parkway, and I'm like, you're gonna play this year. How do you want me to say your name? He's like, how can you say Joel Hans Embiid? I'm like, oh, that's right. Hans is your middle name. That's cool. I love syllables. Joel Hans Embiid. Yeah. Okay, great. And then first game rolls around, and I saw him in the locker room, and I'm like, you ready? He goes, oh, no. I changed it. It's going to be Joel the Process. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble for this.
Because, you weren't sure if the organization would have been on board. Yeah. Okay.
So I didn't say it the first game, and I remember he made a couple baskets, and he just kept looking at me like,
he's looking at you running down the floor?
Like, where's the process?
Oh, boy.
And then I went to Scott O'Neal.
Yes.
And Scott's like, all right, let's do it. And then it's
okay. Well, I'm glad they were on board. Have you ever had interaction with an opposing player? Has there ever been any of that? I like you said, you try to just do your thing, and you're not looking to, draw attention. But
Rasheed Wallace, when he was with Detroit has a pretty famous PA announcer, Mason.
That guy is wild.
Yeah.
He is wild. Yeah.
He's way over the top.
Yeah.
He's, and whenever the ball goes out of bounds and it's Detroit's ball, he's always like, Detroit, and the fans go along with it. Basketball.
Yeah.
So that whole game, every time we got the ball, I was like, Sixer basketball. And Rasheed came up to me at the table. He's like, stop it. I'm like, stop what? You're ripping off our guy. I'm like, no, I'm not. He's like, stop it.
I can see Rasheed doing that. Yeah.
He was mad. Yeah. And I kept doing it, but I was like, wow, what happens if he punches me?
I know. Like, I better get some security, get out of here.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. All right. So beyond that, you are your money with getting, the names right, with, the situations and all that kind of stuff. How much of that is just you're eyeballing this thing? How much do you have folks helping you at the table? How does the process work, so to speak?
It's everything. So I have the NBA package. So with the NBA package, you can watch the home team doing the game, the visiting team doing, So if there's a player I don't know and we're playing them, in a couple of days, I'll watch their game and figure out how to say their name. Also, when they get into the building, they usually have like a 5 o'clock, players start coming out. There's no fans there yet.
Yep.
So it's a good time for me to go up. I always tell the story of Giannis Antetokounmpo's first year. I didn't think he was going to play much when we were playing him because when he got drafted, he was, he was skinny. He was a late pick and he didn't play a lot. So I went up to him and said, hey, how do you say your name? He's okay. You say it like this, Antetokounmpo. And I'm like, no, try it like this. And try it like, and he's like, looked at me, he goes, you know what? No one's going to know. And what do you mean? He's like, if you mess up, I'm the only one that's going to know. And he's right.
That's pretty good sense of humor there.
He's like, no one will know but me. So don't worry.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but I always go up, I get the pronunciations. I'm friends with a lot of the PR guys now.
Yeah. So
they're real helpful. Like Iron Eagle, whenever we play the Nets, I'll see him.
He's the best.
He's Matt. You got any? He'll come to me. You got any questions? Like, you got any players? And same with Mike Green. They'll come right up to you and they'll help you out. It's just asking. That's all.
Yeah.
And the more and Antetokounmpo, there's two ways to really say his name. There's the Greek way and the French way.
Yeah.
So
is that the hardest one?
No,
what's been the most difficult one over the years for you?
Boy, that's a good one. There's a guy in Milwaukee, Skilovilich. I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
It's the guys from Serbia, Slovenia. Those are the real tough ones,
Yeah, I could imagine. That's
Turkish
tough.
names too,
Yeah.
We used to have a guy, Ephthemios Renchis.
Yeah.
And that was a tough one. Yeah.
What was your favorite? What's your favorite? Who was your favorite? Just, is it Joel? Was it AI? Was it somebody else? Who would you say your favorite over the years was? Sixer, not opposing team.
Jermaine Jones. I don't know why. That's how I said it. He still comes to games. I'll see him in the back and I'll yell it out to him and he starts laughing.
We used to, Matt, I'm not kidding you, man. So when I worked at Comcast Sportsnet and now it's NBC Sports Philadelphia and WIP, wherever I've been, all the guys, when we were behind the scenes or not on the mic, would always do Jermaine Jones. Always like you do it. Jermaine Jones. We would always do it, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, every single time. And that's great because, let's face it, he's kind of a nondescript guy, but everybody remembers that.
Yeah. We have two of our assistant coaches, Reggie Redding, who used to play for Nova. TJ DeLeo,
Tony's son.
Tony's son. Yeah. They'll be out in the court, early. He's like, yo, get on the mic, do Jermaine Jones.
That's awesome. All right, we're getting an Andre Iguodala request from Joseph. Can you give us one?
Andre Iguodala. See, you got to have the echo with him.
The echo effect is a killer.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That is a good one. Now, how you've had the opportunity too, I guess, to intro, some of the old school guys like Doc and some of those guys. Do you even go near try to do it like Zinkoff used to do it, where Julius the doctor? Do you give it that, or you kind of stay away from it?
And Doc comes to a lot of our games.
Yeah.
Every time I introduce him, I do the Zink from I think it's the 76 All-Star game.
Yeah.
From the University of Massachusetts, captain of the Philadelphia 76ers, number 6, Julius, the Doctor Herb.
Yes.
It's the only way you can do it. I don't.
He was unbelievable. Like, how much have you listened? I mean, I know as a kid growing up, same here. I loved him. Like, did you ever go back and listen to the way he was like I don't know how to explain it, man. I mean, he was like a wrestling announcer or something. Like, he was a personality, man. You are too, but I mean, he was like in it.
He's the first on any sport PA guy just to take it and make it his own, completely. And Conklin does them to the T.
Conklin's great. Yep.
We did the very last game of the Spectrum. I think it was 2009, and we were in tuxes, and they had brought in Joe just because we had a lot of the '83 guys there.
Right.
So I did our intros, and then he did the '83 intros. And we're standing next to each other. And Del Harris, who's a longtime coach, but he was an assistant with Chicago, came up, and Joe and I are standing there, and he shakes Joe's hand, and he goes, gosh, I missed your voice. It's so good that you sound just like you did. And then he left, and Joe looked at me and goes, I'd be 100.
Oh my God, Conklin, man, he
Yeah.
is. He's
Because
one of a
Zink
kind.
died, I think it was 75 in 1985. I mean,
Yeah, you're right. It was not that long after the '83 team won that Zink
yeah,
passed away.
no,
Yeah.
he died Christmas Day, 1985.
Oh wow.
And he was still, I think they would bring him in for intros. I don't think he was up to do the entire game, but yeah,
Okay.
and I'm so lucky that I didn't have to follow him the next year. It was
Yeah.
like following Harry Callis,
Right. It's funny. We had Tom McCarthy on the show last week, Matt, and we talked about it, and he, it was a challenge, as it would have been for anybody, and he literally had to fill in that day when Harry passed. I mean, can you imagine the pressure there?
Yeah. Yeah. With this fan base?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding. No
And
kidding.
I'll still get like a text message on the air at MGK, like, hey, I went to the Sixer game last night. You're no Zinkoff. I'm like, and I'll just write back, I know I'm not. I never will be.
Oh, human beings are the best. They are.
Yeah.
All right. Can you hang for one more second?
Yeah.
I got a couple of things I want to hit you with, and we're going to take a quick time out
Yeah.
here, and we'll come back with Matt Cord, Sixers in arena host. And of course, you can catch him 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., 1029 MGK. All right. Right back on the Rob Ellis Show on A2D Radio.
Hey, Birds fans, the NFL schedule has arrived and Philly Sports Trips has all the details now. Visit the site phillysportstrips.com. This is sure to be an epic season. Be sure to go there now to make sure that you don't get shut out. Join us in Tampa, LA, Seattle, or when we get revenge in Kansas City. Don't want to fly? No problem. Gather up your crew and hop aboard one of our signature boisterous bus trips to DC or New York. Sign up now and make sure to mention A2D. Don't miss out on the best Philly fan experience anywhere. Philly Sports Trip customers always stay at the best hotels and meet NFL legends. Book today.
All right, we're back. Rob Ellis Show, A2D Radio. We're joined by the great Matt Cord. Matt, so I have to imagine, because I used to talk to Harry Callis about this all the time, people would come up to him nonstop. And this is back when voicemails were huge, either on your landline or when cells were starting to.
Right.
And Harry, you got to say, hey, Mary's out of here, that kind of thing. Like he would get it all the time. Do you get that kind of stuff? Do you get the hey, you need to intro my buddy's getting married? Like, how does it work? I'm sure you get these kind of crazy requests.
I do. And it's gotten to a point where now I'm on Cameo.
Okay. Smart move. Where can people reach you on Cameo?
I just Matt Cord on Cameo.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I do a lot of wedding intros. That's like the big thing now. People want to be introduced.
Yeah.
The maid of honor. She's 6 foot from Immaculata and the best band. I do a lot of those.
Yes.
Actually, and I'll do them in person too. It's a little more money, but
yes,
I'll do those. I do bar mitzvahs. I do fantasy football drafts. I get a lot of those.
That's cool.
Coming up soon.
Yeah.
And and once in a while, I'll be somewhere and they'll like FaceTime with somebody or, give me a Jumaine Jones.
All right. So have you ever, I remember I've told this story before, but I went on the air one time and I'm pretty fortunate that my voice holds no matter what, knock on wood, but I had laryngitis one time and I was doing like a Saturday night, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. shift. Okay. Yeah. Just dying on like one vocal cord. And it happened to be the night that one of our new program directors was driving into town at WIP. Okay. I have to get up, and the next day there's an Eagles show and I'm doing the pregame. Can you imagine? I had like no turnaround and the voice is he comes up to me and I'm in one of the breaks and I think he's going to say to me, "You're a gamer, man. Like, thanks for toughing it out last night." Turning back. He says, "Don't ever get on the air sounding like that again." I'm like, "Nice to meet you too. Thanks, sir. Good to see you." Wow. But have you, yeah, I'm not kidding. Have you ever had an experience like that where the voice was shot or you just weren't feeling it and it was just a nightmare to get through?
I never missed a game in 26 years or preseason. There's been times early on where my voice was shot, and that's when I decided I got to get some coaching, a vocal coach, a singing coach, and got the exercises, and I've never lost it since. I do a good like 20 to 30 minutes of exercises before every game.
Wow, that's a lot, man. That's amazing.
I'll do like 15 minutes here at home, and then I get to the arena and I do it inside the Airmark room.
Yeah.
Like where all the guys are like bringing out all like the vodka bottles.
Yeah. What's this? What's he doing? Yeah, exactly.
But it's a neat room, and I know all the guys in there, and they like, yeah, go in there. Like, and it's just, it works.
That's pretty cool. So you never had that on the air radio either, where you were just the voice was cooked?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think I have. I mean, I've had it bad, but not where I just can't talk.
Okay.
And the thing with rock radio, you just do less breaks. It's not like you're doing sports talk where you got to talk.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
All right, I'll play Stairway, Life's Been Good, Freebird, and that's 45 minutes. You know,
favorite classic rock band. I know Pearl Jam. I don't consider them classic rock. I know you guys play Pearl Jam, but and you mentioned them earlier. But if you had to go back old school, the Zeppelins, the Stones, the Beatles, whatever. Who would be your?
Yeah, I'm a Stones guy. I love. Yeah, I've always loved Mick Jagger and the Stones, so I'd go Stones.
All right.
I love Bruce too, though. So you know, it's either or. It depends.
Who's number 2 in terms of concert scene behind Pearl Jam?
Oh gosh, that's a good one. Maybe U2. I've seen them a bunch.
I'm nowhere near you, I'm sure, but I've seen them more than any other band.
Yeah, yeah, I love U2.
Yeah. Bono's book's very good if you haven't read it. Surrender.
No. Okay.
Yeah. If we run into each other, I'll pass it along to you if we happen to run into each other.
My girlfriend wants me to take her to see them in Vegas at the Sphere.
That is a good move. That would get some brownie points, I think.
It's a tough ticket to get. You know, they're playing there for a whole month.
Oh, they're doing a residency? I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's this new venue called the Sphere. Have you heard about it?
No.
It's a multi-billion-dollar arena. It's a Sphere, and it's owned by a bunch of people. James Dolan from The Garden. He's one of the bigger guys there.
Really?
Just Google it. It's up. It's the Sphere part is working. During the summer league in Vegas, they made it a basketball. So you're driving in on the highway and you see this huge basketball.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So U2 is going to be the first band to open up the Sphere, and they're doing a whole month of shows there.
That is really cool. I maybe this just reminded me of it. Then I think it was like 83. They played Red Rocks. That is a place I've never been. I would love to go to.
That's on my bucket list. The Gorge in George Washington, Pennsylvania is another place.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right. Lastly, before we get you out of here, we appreciate all the time you give us. I know you do a lot of work for Special Olympics. I know your niece and nephew, Lily and Nate, are have Down syndrome, and they are like everywhere. These two. I mean, they are. Lily, I know, is that she worked the Luke Combs concert last week. She's unbelievable.
Yeah, the Eagles are really good. They hire a bunch of special needs kids.
Yeah.
And so she's like a greeter at the link when you come in, and she's got her maps and she tells you where to go. And she does all the concerts. She doesn't work Temple games, Rob.
Why?
She's like, I'm a Penn State fan.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. And it worked.
She's that loyal that she won't work at Temple. Wow.
Yeah.
God bless her.
But yeah, and then Nate is, last night they're all over the internet because there was a party in Seattle at Kicks, which is right there in the main. And Nate was on the balcony dancing to the band, the Chatter Band were playing live.
Yeah.
It got so out of hand that the band went up to the balcony with the horn section and played with Nate dancing. They're the light of my life. They're, it's called Down syndrome to me. It's up syndrome because they just defy all these different odds, and they bring so much life and joy to everybody. And they don't judge, they're just fun, and they're really high functioning too.
Yeah. Like
Lily can name 3 guys on every NBA team.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. I know she loves the game. She goes through a ton of games. I know she loves it. Yeah.
When we traded Ersan Ilyasova to Milwaukee, she was like, well, he gets to play with the Greek Freak. He gets to play with Middleton, and he gets to hang out with Bango. I'm like, who's Bango? She's like, the mascot. I'm like, you know the mascot of the Bucks? Yeah, Bango.
Wow, good for her, man. That is so cool.
She'll tell me trades before, hey, what do you think? We got Niang's going to Cleveland. Like, he is? Like, I'll look at my phone like, you're right. Like,
man, that's awesome. She's on top of it, man. That is so cool. But I know how proud you are of them. So I just wanted to make sure we pass that along. All right.
Thank you.
So we can catch Matt, obviously, when the season starts back up. He's the best in the business, but also crushing it daily on MGK 1029. You can follow him on Twitter as well, at Matty, Matty Cord. Matt, appreciate it, brother. Thanks for giving us a couple minutes here.
Rob.
My pleasure.
Thanks and I think the Sixers schedule comes out in 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
It always comes out so late.
It does feel late. You're right about that. It
No,
does.
the Phillies schedule for next year is already out.
Now, I'm assuming we're not going to give Ben Simmons a lot of. I know you already had it, but he's just going to get a Ben Simmons. Like he's going to get one of those, right? I would assume.
Yeah, I would hope. I hope he plays. So that's
that's a big thing. If he does actually step foot on the court, he won't. It was nice when the Sixers beat them and they didn't have basically anybody and they beat them last year. Remember that game?
Yeah. Be nice to get a Christmas game this year too at home.
Ooh, I think the Eagles play on Christmas too, right?
You wouldn't that be crazy?
Ooh, that could be a double dip right there.
We'd have to be an early game because they're night. I think that's a night game, right?
I believe you. Yeah, let me see. Actually, the Eagles play. Yeah, that's going to be crazy. Eagles play at 4:30. Actually, 4:30 against the Giants. How about noon? How about a noon tip off?
Noon going into that parking lot would still be crazy. That
it would be insanity. Yes, it would. Oh, Matt, keep up the good work, man.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks for giving us a couple minutes. We appreciate it.
All right, buddy.
All right, take care. That is the great Matt Cord, of course, MGK and Sixers in Arena host. All right, fun. Try to give you guys a little different taste every single week here on the Rob Ellis Show. All right, so let's hit a couple things. We're coming off a highly, highly disappointing Phillies weekend. They lose 2 or 3 from to the Pirates, and really in just embarrassing fashion on Sunday, quite frankly. It was Little League-esque. It really was. It was the stuff that continues to happen with defensive miscues, with bad base running. It is the mark of a team that isn't focused, that isn't about the attention to detail. And look, I'm a big Rob Thompson fan, and he did an incredible job last year for this team. But if this was Gabe Kapler, Joe Girardi, we'd be killing them. And I'm not letting the players off the hook by any stretch. Ultimately, it's on them. But we would be crushing the manager in any other circumstance. But we're giving Rob a bit of a pass here, considering what kind of job he did last year. He keeps saying that they're going to get this thing turned around and they're going to fix it. We'll see. Now, trade deadline is looming as well. And to me, it's been pretty obvious for a while now what they need. They need 2 things really badly. They need an outfielder with some pop because the team doesn't hit enough home runs, period. And what they also need is a right-handed arm out of the bullpen. Really any kind of effective arm, preferably a right-handed arm. Sir Anthony, something's not right. And he's either been banged up or ineffective a lot of the year. Jose Alvarado's not back yet, not even in rehab assignments. You're asking a lot of Craig Kimbrell. And you're seeing, it's either an escape act or he's, giving up runs here, and it's a problem. So they need help on both fronts. I think the mistake is we keep waiting for Trey Turner to turn it around. It may not happen ultimately. It just doesn't feel like it. It just feels like it's one of those years where he's lost. He's in his own head. You're seeing things that are completely uncharacteristic of him. What's also concerning here is Castellanos is starting to look like the Nick Castellanos of last year. He needs to snap out of this thing. There's only so many of those things that you can overcome. Real Muto hasn't had a very good year. Schwarber is very limited in what he can do. And Harper doesn't quite have the power yet. So, asking Bohm and Stott and Marsh and, Rojas or Pache or whomever to come up big for you each and every game is too much. If the big boys don't get it going, then it really isn't going to make much difference. So they have got to get it going. I still think they're a playoff team. I think Dave Dombrowski, considering how aggressive he is, will make moves that will help this team. I believe that. It won't be, marquee name type of moves, but they'll make moves that will help this team. As far as the Eagles go, I'll point this out first. If you follow the league and you look around the NFL at some of the stuff that's going on, whether it's Jonathan Taylor or other running backs that are upset, some of the stuff that's happening with coaches popping off. There's a lot going on, right? And a lot of it, quite frankly, is nonsense sort of distraction kind of stuff that you don't need this time of year when you should be really focused on your team and getting better as a team. Here's the great thing about the Eagles. It's all about what's happening on the field. It's all about Nick Sirianni getting these guys ready. It's about these players getting back to the level that they were on last year when they went 16-3 before losing the Super Bowl. It's about, and for me, a lot of it has to do with the culture that's there, about Nick Sirianni and the way that he does things and how he holds guys accountable, about the quarterback who first and foremost holds himself accountable. And then everybody has to follow suit after that. Because if your quarterback, who is, the guy who for a second was the highest paid player in the NFL, who was the runner-up MVP, if he is that dialed in, you better be that dialed in. So that's the good thing. Now we're a ways off here from the season starting. We got, a month and change here from this thing getting started. And you have the initial excitement and burst when they first get back to camp. You're, oh man, they're playing again. And I love it. I love every second of it. I eat it up, man. I eat it up. But then you start to get into that lull period where you're like, man, these preseason games, hardly anybody plays. And, you can't really see the joint practices, and you're waiting for that week one. It is part of the thing that's great about the NFL is the anticipation, right? So lean into it. Look, I thought when I saw the video, and I was not down there at Lincoln Financial Field for that on Monday morning, but when I saw the video of the people camped out to get their Kelly Green jerseys, I just thought, whether you like the Kelly Green jerseys or not, how do you not respect that? How do you not love that? How do you not get a kick out of that as an Eagles fan or as a fan of the NFL? Like, these people care. They care unlike any other fan base. It is just so amazing to see. And the amount of, and I know it's going to be for 2 dates this year that they're going to be wearing in Miami and Buffalo. I understand that. But the amount of those Kelly Green jerseys that you're going to see in the parking lot, you're going to see when you go out to eat, when you're at the corner bar, you're out with your buddies, you go over to your buddy's house, whatever, is going to be awesome. And to see the present day guys, the old stuff, you would always see Mike Quick, or you'd see Reggie or Seth or Jerome or whatever. And that stuff's awesome. I love the throwbacks. But to see the current day guys, I got to tell you, the Eagles know how to do it, man. They know how to market. They know how to unveil. It is what it's all about. And it's what makes sports fun. At the end of the day, of course, you want your teams to win, but you want to be entertained and you want to have fun along the way. And this kind of stuff, right? These little mileposts are what's fun and enjoyable. And I'll tell you what, if there's ever a team that's going to buck the trend of getting to the Super Bowl and either winning it or losing it, having a really tough time the next year getting back, and the numbers aren't good and they're not favorable for sure. But if there's ever a team that's going to buck that trend, I believe it is the Philadelphia Eagles, because of all the reasons that we just laid out, whether it's the focus, whether it's the leadership, whether it's the culture, and on top of that, they're really talented. They lost some players, don't get me wrong. And I think it's like I've told you before, I think it's going to take the defense a little while to get adjusted, but they're still incredibly talented. Like, this should still be a top 3 offense in the NFL. They should be a team that's still able to get to the quarterback, which will help some of the newer guys on the back end, the safeties, etc. So I am going to go into this season with the belief, despite the history here of teams, that this Eagles team will in fact get back to the Super Bowl. I can't wait for it to get started. I can't wait for that New England game. Oh man. And the time of year when you have the Phillies in a playoff push, in September and October, and the Eagles starting up, it's like every night you got a Phillies game during the week. You got an Eagles game on a Sunday or a Monday or a Sunday night or a Thursday night or whatever. And just to intersplice those things, there is nothing better. There really isn't anything better. I wish I had something more to tell you on the Sixers, but like I've been saying to you, I don't think anything happens probably until September or October before the season starts, because you have, it feels like one team in play for Harden, and the Sixers are way up here and the Clippers are way down here. And until we get about right there, it isn't going to matter. It really is not going to be better. And I agree with KZ. The Eagles have set the bar for how a sports organization should be run. It's exactly right. There's no question on a million different levels, but looking forward to it. As far as the A2D question of the day, James Harden will be a Sixer this year. Disagree. I disagree. I know that there are a lot of people who believe he'll come back. He'll play a year here. He'll be on his best behavior. He'll play well because he wants to get paid next year and go wherever he wants. I don't happen to think that. I think they will trade him. I think Daryl Morey knows James Harden better than anybody else, and he knows how disruptive he can be if he's in a spot that he doesn't like, and I think Morey will get rid of him. And I'm okay that it's not a superstar coming back. I'm okay if it's Norman Powell, it's Terrence Mann, or it's a couple picks. I actually think that would work well. I do. I think they would fit in well with Maxey and Embiid. I'd be perfectly fine with that. And if you don't go super deep, reset it in 24-25 when you're going to have basically the books cleared except for Embiid and PJ Tucker. And you'll be able to do a lot of damage, possibly free agents or trades or whatever the case may be. All right. I appreciate everybody in the chat section. I appreciate everybody hanging out. My man Ralph producing the program, Tom as well, and of course our guest Matt Cord. It was a lot of fun. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys next week on the Rob Ellis Show on A2D Radio.